Hi, welcome to Parenting for Thought, the podcast that talks about things parents want to know, or maybe not, but we're here anyways.
I love it.
I'm Emry Kettle. I am a child behavior specialist. I studied early childhood development, so think everything from pregnancy through about 9 years old, heavy into the psych and how kids' minds absorb and interpret information, how they interpret the world around them, why it matters that parents know these things, and why I think that we failed parents miserably. And I want to get you all the information that you need so that you can raise happy, healthy kids and have happy, healthy families. Um, so, for our first podcast ever, I've got Kelsey Wesley here. Kelsey, do we want to tell the people how we met?
Yes, absolutely. Go for it.
Okay, so for the last oh my god, has it been 2 years now? 2 years! 2
Oh
years
my
this
God.
month! I
Yeah.
have been taking care of the coolest kid in the world. I'm pretty sure mom has no problem with me sharing names. What do you think?
Oh, fuck. You won't care.
So this kiddo's name is Magnus, and, man, if he isn't the light of my life.
Mm.
And, so his mom knew Kelsey from what, spin class in Germany?
Yeah, we were both Americans living in Munich at the time and met at a spin class and immediately got along and became friends, basically. And after she moved away from Munich, which I was very upset about, moved to
Indeed.
Vienna though, which
Simon's
then she
fault.
got to then meet you, which all ended up okay. And now here we are. Somehow the fact that she moved and abandoned me allowed us to then now be connected and be friends.
Yeah, so I've been Magnus's person for 2 years now, and, a few months ago, I'm doing this whole career pivot, where I said, "I'm tired of bringing my message to one family at a time. This is taking too long. Parents need more. I wanna get my message out there." So I did this whole pivot to, running my own business, being a solopreneur. I speak entrepreneur speak now. It's a whole language. And then at some point, Kiki was like, "Oh, I have a friend who's a coach too. Maybe there's something there for you too." And that very same day, I wrote Kelsey, took a look at your Instagram, and I was like, "Oh my God, this person's messaging is so on point and amazing. And like, look at them go." So I'm thinking, Kelsey doesn't have time for me. Kelsey did have time for me. Spoiler
I'm
alert.
so glad I made time for you. I'm so glad I made time.
Your super busy coaching day. Yeah, so we connected, and then through our conversation even figured out that we were at Magnus's parents' wedding together and didn't realize it.
So funny, man.
It
So
was
funny.
written in the stars way ahead of time.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, the universe does that though sometimes, right? They throw people together and then now, I mean, it's what I love about our relationship too is we are talking back and forth to each other anyways about certain subjects in our own area of expertise.
Mhm.
And so it feels so right to be able to be on this in this setting with you in a little bit more of a formal way and to see where kind of magic comes out of it.
Yes, yes. Well, and it was such a values match, which is the number one thing for me before I go into a collab with anybody. Um, you know, I'm very values led, and I want to make it so super clear to the people that I'm servicing that I'm going to be in a positive way the gatekeeper and make sure that they're not going to be receiving yucky messaging about parenting if it's not empowering, if it's not child focused, if it's not relationship centered. No, none of that is coming through.
Yeah.
So Kelsey, you being a confidence coach, which I promise I'll let you get into that in just a minute. uh, for me, by the time parents are coming to me, they're usually so ragged and they're so tired and they're exhausted and they've tried everything that they know how or that they've had available to them, and their confidence is shot.
Yeah.
So, probably your typical clients aren't coming to you to become confident parents. But this is the magic of a collab, right? Is you saying this is what I see and me saying this is what I see, and this is the crossover in our Venn diagram. This is what we can bring people.
Well, exactly. And I mean, confidence is one of those things. And the reason that I chose confidence as kind of the area of expertise was not only my background and kind of the things that I've overcome in my life, but it was also because I you see the effects of low self-confidence in
Mm,
all areas of life. And it's one of those things that, if you are low confident in, your job and you're feeling a bit like shit, right? Then you're going to feel that's going to sneak into your parenting. And if you're
yes.
feeling low confident there, then that's going to sneak into your relationships.
Yep.
So it's one of those things that touches every single part of our lives. The good news, though, is that if we work on it, you can also see the benefit
Mm,
of confidence, of higher self-confidence start to spread out as well across your
mhm.
life. So if you start to build on your relationship or your confidence as a parent, then you start to feel more confidence in your relationship as like an individual human being, right? And if you feel better in your relationship, then you feel better in your job. So it's like one of these things that, I feel like one of the biggest problems we have in this world is untapped human potential because we don't believe in ourselves.
Mm.
And we give those lack of good self-belief onto our children. And it just continues this perpetual cycle. And I just feel like if we were able to give everybody just like 10% more confidence in what it is that they're doing, whatever it is that they want to do, however it is they want to live their life, we would have so many more like just better human beings out there. And we'd have more confident, we'd have more tolerant, we'd have more kind, we'd have more, I mean, all of these things. It would solve so many issues, in my opinion, because we're all just little kids running around who are injured inside. And if we were to help reparent ourselves and become confident, we wouldn't pass on that shit to the next generation.
Yeah, so you're just speaking my language, right?
A rant over mic drop. Okay, we're done. No, no, I'm
I
kidding.
no, I'm also sitting here thinking about how reactive we are when we are lacking that self-confidence, when we are hurt and injured. But before we get into that, Kelsey, can you for the people who have no idea who are you? Why are you
Yes, of
amazing?
course. I gonna say I should probably start there before going off into rants. Yeah, so
Well, they're hooked now. Now they gotta know.
right, here we are. So I my background is very non-typical, I think, for many people. For those of you who are maybe watching the video recording, might see that I have scars on my face. Obviously, I'm wearing some makeup, but I do not have a symmetrical face. I have a visual facial difference. I was born with something called a giant nevus, which is a large birthmark, basically that covered the entire right side of my face. And my parents decided, for both cosmetic and for medical reasons, to remove the birthmark. So I've had, since age 8 months old, have had 17 surgeries to remove the birthmark and reconstruct the right side of my face. I've had countless skin grafts. I've had so many treatments, scar removal treatment, cosmetic tattooing. I mean, everything that you can think of, right, to bring us to where we are a little bit today. These are the scars you see. The scars that you don't see are the years and years and years of being a kid and then a teenager and then an adult who looks different. And if there's anything we know, is that kids can be brutal, man. Um, Luckily, in my instance, I think I was quite lucky, or at least I don't remember so many challenges. I remember a few instances, but I was quite lucky that I think my parents did a really good job in giving me kind of the foundational tools to have a good sense of self and self-esteem. But there was still a very long battle and just process for me to gain a level of self acceptance with the way that I look, and to not only just tolerate it, but actually celebrated and then bringing it in to become kind of the core center of my being. I mean, it's the key story I tell. It's the reason I do confidence coaching because if I can look the way that I look and still show up being confident and feeling good and being this lighthouse of energy, which I get feedback often that I am, I become the source of inspiration for other people.
Mhm.
Um, and I've tried out so many different methodologies for myself to figure out what works and what doesn't. And so the combination of my personal experience as well with the traditional coaching educations and the work I've done in corporate environments with leaders and employee wellness and all of these different types of things have kind of been able to come together to allow me to step into this role now as a confidence coach. So, and confidence is not just about kind of, oh, do I feel good in my body? Although that is a very important part of it. Do I like what I see in the mirror? But to me, actually, confidence is much broader, right? It's how do I approach my career? Do I feel good about the life I'm living? Am I living in alignment with my values, right? So it's confidence is just kind of a bit of the branding, but there's so many layers underneath it because my vision is to help people just build that unshakable confidence so that they can live their lives boldly and fearlessly in whatever way that they want, right? It's not my position to judge. So, um, that's a little bit of the I guess the background of my story, but I also come from a corporate background. So as many years as a consultant working with C-level people, so I bring a lot of structure and knowledge into things as well, which is kind of this interesting combination of two worlds. I'm spiritually curious as well, so I love to kind of go and dance between these different worlds. But for me, everything that I do is not only for to help the adults, but to help also raise another generation of
Mhm.
children who um, we're not giving them the shit that we've been
Yeah.
dealing with. That was a big part of my personal journey, is to make sure that I didn't give away some of the baggage I had, that I healed that. So when the time comes that I have a child, I'm not going to give them some of that stuff.
Mhm. Thank you for sharing with us. I there's two pieces here that I want to address. Number one is if we take this bodily confidence idea
Mhm.
and very specifically parents of girls,
Yeah.
right? Like content warning, we're going to talk about this now.
Yeah, it's such a good example. It's such a good example.
It's so difficult, and I see this and I hear this, and it absolutely breaks me
Mhm,
to hear parents or grandparents or aunts and uncles, people in the extended family talking to girls about their bodies.
mhm, absolutely.
And it's the amount of detriment that can do. And to anybody watching or listening, maybe this happened to you and you know exactly what we're talking about.
Mhm,
But the way that can shake a person's confidence, someone whose confidence is in a developmental stage, not to say that that our confidence isn't permanently in a developmental stage, because I do think it is, but it's a very different kind of development when you're a child, right?
yeah,
When we're giving them this messaging and we're teaching them that the foundation of their existence, their bodily presence in this world is something that is undesirable, off of
mhm,
center. And
mhm.
you experience this for sure.
100%. And I mean, even and it's so interesting, right? Because like, my scars were always really accepted, right? It's like, okay, she was just born this way, she looks different, it's fine. And it's interesting because especially with the bodily confidence, you have a very big range, especially for young girls, but also boys too. I think we don't want to leave them out.
All genders,
Um,
absolutely.
all genders, really all genders. You have some parents who are very, very nitpicky about what their kids look like their body looks like,
Mhm.
which is one level of it. And I never had that, right? I never had my parents being very like this or my grandparents or anything. But what I did have was an awareness of how my mother felt about her body.
Oh,
And
oh,
seeing that, and my grandmother, how she felt, because my grandmother would comment, and actually she would be saying very, very flattering things. She would say, "Oh, you're looking so skinny. You're looking so thin." And when her the intention was actually very kind. Um, it
the road
luckily I was
to
older.
hell is paved
Yeah,
with good
right?
intentions.
I mean,
Yes.
I knew that it was in good intentions, but it was one of these things. You had this deep awareness that my mother did not feel good about her body. She was always on some sort of diet. She was
Yeah.
always trying to change something. And it was just so it was never directed at me, but I always knew that there was a sense of discomfort within her. And
Mm.
then you would get comments even when they are positive about it. And I remember sitting there, luckily I was a bit older when these comments were coming to me. But I ended up having to talk to my grandmother at one point and say, look, I don't appreciate those comments because it's not a compliment to me.
Yes.
Like I feel good in my body, like, but I don't need this isn't some value thing of, oh, I'm skinny, therefore I'm looking beautiful. I should be beautiful no matter what. So it's this
Yeah.
interesting boundary I had to set up too with my freaking 82-year-old grandmother.
Well, and I've been thinking about intersectionality this entire time as well, because you are a slender person,
Yeah,
which does give you some privilege in this world. We know, like,
totally.
let's not mince words here. We know what the standard of beauty is. You
Hmm.
are white, you are blonde, you are slender. You're
Yeah.
ticking a lot of boxes here. So someone like you can, quote unquote, get away with some kind of a visual difference a lot
Hmm.
easier than someone who is fat, someone who is not white, someone
Mhm.
who is poor. There's
Totally.
so, I mean, intersectionality can never not be a part of this conversation, right? And
Exactly.
and we're saying that as two white people. um yeah, I think that always deserves to be
Mhm.
acknowledged.
Exactly. But I think that, the key thing that is really there for that, which was something, when we first were talking about doing this podcast, I was thinking a lot about is, there's always this question of like, well, how do I raise confident children? And it's about being a confident parent. Like if there are insecurities that you have about yourself, um those are going to be turned up to dial to level 10 when you're a parent. And you talked previously about this, this reactivity to things, and there's always this question that I talk to my clients a lot about is like, are you reacting or are you responding to something?
Every time I say those words constantly, they
Like,
are like
oh,
core value teachings.
for sure, man. And how is your reactivity being rooted in trying to sort of protect your ego or protect this little kid inside yourself that feels not confident,
Mm.
right?
Oh yeah.
And we do so many things to try to cover up or mask that lack of confidence, right? And we try to find it in externalities. So we try to find it in our job. If we just overperform and get this really high, wage and a great promotion, and we're doing really well and we have the car and all these things like that, then it's finally going to fill this internal hole that we have. And what we come to find out is you climb the mountain and you still have this injured child inside you who is trying to seek validation
Yeah.
outside of us, or you finally get the body that you like and you still feel this way.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. Or you start to project out onto your children that,
Mhm.
oh, now they are the top football player, they're now the top student, you're now living through them,
Mm.
and to
Sometimes
try to
even
fill some
without
hole.
knowing. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but sometimes without even knowing exactly. But it's all to try to cover up this feeling of this with fear of inadequacy, that I am not enough as I am. And that is the foundation of low self confidence, this belief that I am not enough.
Oh, wow. If if we could all just love ourselves in that way, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's fucking hard, man. Like,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
so
Oh,
when with
yeah.
all of the external stuff, it's so hard, but when we think about, like, self-confidence or self-esteem, there's really like, when you read, like, the literature and, it's all sorts of, academics who have talked about this, but there's really kinda 2 key pillars to good self-confidence, right? One is this belief that I have that I, like, can figure things out, right? That I believe in my abilities, I can overcome the challenges in my life, right? There's a certain level of self-trust that comes into this. And the second piece is this belief that I am worthy of happiness and I'm worthy of good things.
Mm.
And so often we focus a lot on the abilities, right? So that, that type of confidence kind of ebbs and flows with the things we learn, right? Sometimes we have situational high confidence because we've done a task many times, so we feel good about it. And then situational low self-confidence, we're a new entrepreneur, we're trying to figure out how to be like everything, and we have a little bit of low self-confidence, right? So that's quite normal though. But if you have an underlying belief that, you know what, like this is hard, but I trust myself enough to figure it out. That's a very good foundation of confidence. The other piece, though, is so important, which is this belief that I am worthy of good things, that I am intrinsically worthy, that I do not need to earn it, that I do not need to work for it, that I do not need to prove something, but I myself am simply worthy of good things because I am a good human being. Right? That is the piece that we're constantly trying to, like, run after.
Mhm.
And it's if you don't have one of them, then there's always you're gonna be on shaky foundation.
Mhm. I I would love to talk about um that second piece that I wanted to bring up a bit ago. I think
Mhm,
now is a good time for that. Is um I cannot tell you how many times I have modeled a behavior for parents. So, for example, giving directions to a child. So it's time to clean up now, right? Happens 100 times a
mhm,
day, every single day. And parents go into direction giving with such a lack of confidence that it yields such poor results that then
mm,
takes their confidence and the cycle continues. Whereas I'm very practiced. I've been doing this for so long, decades, that I've practiced it way more times than a parent has practiced it because I've been
mhm,
doing it for more years. So I go into it with the expectation of I know I'm speaking clearly. I know I'm setting a clear expectation. I know that this child developmentally understands what I'm saying and has the physical capacity to complete the task. So I come into it going, all right, it's cleanup time. Here's the expectations. Ready, go. And they do it. And the
mhm.
parents will look at me like I'm a witch. And they're going,
Like, we've been trying to do this for ages.
how did you get my child to do this thing that I've been
Mhm,
desperately begging them to do?
mhm.
And I go, like, literally, sometimes it's just the way that I look at them, or it's my tone. It's this confidence piece where I'm going, I
Yeah,
know exactly what I'm doing and why it's fine for this child. Right.
yeah,
So, because my confidence with kids is rooted in something, it means that that confidence is unshakable, and that also
mhm,
if I make a mistake, I know how to correct it. I know how to handle my mistakes without it shaking the foundation of what I'm
mhm.
doing with that kid. So if I give them a task that they can't accomplish, that they're not ready for, so if I say, clean up all your blocks, but there's too many blocks and the kid doesn't have that focus level yet, I can step in the middle of that and switch it up and go, "Oh, wow, you cleaned up half the blocks. That was great. I'll clean up that other half." I can switch it up, I can change it around, and none of the learning or the discipline gets lost.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's this it it reminds me so much, of parents, and as they're stepping into this new phase of their life and they're in all these transitions and everything's new and you're not really sure where the kid is in everything,
Right.
that there is this expectation out there of this perfect parent, that if I don't know how to perfectly do it right away, that like I'm gonna totally mess up and I'm gonna mess up my kid or something.
Mhm.
And I
Mm.
feel like so much of confidence comes from anywhere in your life, is comes from the ability for you to give yourself the space to make mistakes, to fail, to pick back up, to apologize for something,
Oh,
to
yeah.
not be a perfect parent, because actually, if your child sees you just being perfect all the time, they're never going to learn the skill of being human and allowing themselves to be human, and what it looks like to apologize for mistakes. Like, there's so much value to that, and yet we don't, as adults, almost create our own space within ourselves to make those mistakes and to flow with things. To flow with things and to pivot and to come back, right? There's this
Yep.
lightness to it.
Yep. Wow, I this is such a good conversation that it's bringing up so many things for me, and I'm sitting here going, which direction do I wanna go? We just need to have a part 2.
Always, always. I mean, this
Always a
is what
part 2.
happens, right?
It's a series. It's a mini series. Um, yeah, uh, so to share with my audience and maybe even to yours, part of the reason that I'm doing the work that I'm doing is because of the way that I was raised, right? So, you're talking about a parent who needs to be perfect. Well, gosh, if that just wasn't my mom all over. And her need to be super performative and have this facade of perfection taught me that anything less than that was not worthy.
Mhm,
And it took me ages. One of the things that I still do now to maintain that is I'll do art or I'll do some kind of a craft, like a childhood craft, just like, cutting out, like doing a collage. And I do it with a childlike mind. I go into
mhm,
it for the fun of creating, to
mm.
remind myself that the goal is not to turn out a perfect product. The goal is to enjoy myself.
Yeah. It's such an important component, and this is something that I do. So I work with a lot of, you know, high performance people, right? They are women or men or non-binary, who are up in their companies. They're doing a lot of like very high pressure things, and they want to have it all, right? They want to have the job, they want to have the body, they want to have the family, they want to have the car, the house, whatever it is, right? They're very high performers and perfectionists. And one of the first things I do with them is inviting back play into their lives. Because when you are used to getting your validation from outside of yourself, when you're used to getting the okay from your parents or from your boss or from whatever it is, you lose this childish enthusiasm and this play that can come with it. And actually, the art of being confident in yourself is, in so many ways, and it has been for me, has play has been a critical piece of this lightness, right? Confidence is not supposed to feel heavy, it's actually supposed to feel light and airy, and play is very much that. It is light and airy. So can we allow ourselves to go into new situations we've never been in with kind of just like this little like mischievous sort of fun, a
Love
smile
it.
behind our eyes, where you're like, you know what, I have no idea how this is gonna turn out, but we're just gonna do it anyways. And
Much like this podcast.
exactly, 100%. And when you bring that sense of lightness into anything that you do, you realize that, like, failure doesn't exist. Making a mistake as a parent it isn't actually a mistake, it's a learning opportunity. Because I'll tell you what, I never learn as much from my successes as I do from my failures and my mistakes. I learn
100%.
way more
Every time. Every
every
time.
time. every single time. And that's the thing. That's the we want to teach our children not to fear mistakes or not to fear failure, because there is always a pathway forward and there's always something to be learned from it.
Absolutely. Kelsey, I think it's written in stone now. We need to be doing a part two.
Yes.
Uh,
Because we didn't even get into talking about how do you raise a confident
you,
kid,
we
where
didn't
like what
even.
are the key elements, like but it's but again, like the confidence for your children starts with confidence in yourself. It's just there's no other way to do it.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
that's that's the aha moment for today. So, if there was one thing that you wish someone would walk away today knowing, what would that be?
A fantastic question. It would be that it is easy, especially once you have children, to invest so much time and energy in them and their development. But I would really encourage people to carve out some space and some financial backing to support their own development, because it is going to be the foundation for everything else that they do. And they will not only see the benefit in their parenting, but they will also see the benefit in their relationship, in their job, in their career, in their friendships, in their experience with themselves behind closed doors. Because confidence, it's an inside out job, and so you have to be willing to go in. And confident children, they get that from parents modeling healthy, confident behaviors.
There's our mic drop.
There's our mic drop.
And so this ties in so nicely as we go into the final minutes of the this podcast episode, which is um I offer this free workbook for anybody who signs up for my newsletter. And exactly what you're saying is something that I offer in this workbook, where it takes you through the self-reflection of first acknowledging what's happening in your home with your children, with your co-parent if there's one present, and with yourself. And if I could encourage every parent listening to give back to themselves as much as they are attempting to give to their kids, oh man, what a world this would be. So,
Yeah.
Kelsey, where can people find you and what can they get from you?
Yes. Okay. So the best way to connect with me is usually on Instagram or LinkedIn. I'm at Kelsey Wesley Coaching. You can also find me online, my website, kelseywesleycoaching.com. And I offer a lot of different things, whether it's one-on-one coachings. I do a confidence coaching program that anybody who's looking to focus on confidence in any area of their life. I focus a lot on relationship confidence as an individual coming into a relationship, career confidence, also potentially, getting into some of these types of parenting confidence topics as well. Um, and yeah, and really just trying to support people on their journey there. I also do a lot of corporate stuff as well. So running workshops on things around confidence, on emotional intelligence, emotional awareness. I love doing topics around soft confidence as well, especially in the corporate world. So learning how to be soft in your confidence. You don't have to be hard and intense. You can actually have this beautiful soft confidence as well. So I do workshops. So if anybody wants to connect, I do speaking gigs as well on the topic of confidence. So anything and everything to get the mission, to get the mission and the thing out there, right? To
Love
really
it.
help people live that confident life that they've always wanted to have.
Beautiful. I'm Emry Kettle. You can find me at emrykettle.com. I'm also on Insta, emrykettle.coach. I'm offering group coaching, webinars, workshops. I've got it all. All right. Kelsey, this was amazing. Thank you so much for joining me and stick around for part two, folks.
Thank you, Emery. I'm so honored that you asked me to do this. And yeah, we're definitely gonna have to do another one. I think that's the case.
It's
Yeah.
happening.
Yes. Amazing. All right. Cool.